Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
Local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music. Mike and Marty on the beat. Mike and Marty. Mike and Marty.
Good morning, Rockingham and Keene. It is Wednesday, February 21st. We are cruising through February. January was, 45, 50 days long? And remember, it's leap year, so we get an extra day this year. I have Laurel Green, the chair of Sustainable Rockingham, here today. And I have Gary Fox, the development director for the Town of Rockingham. And we're going to be talking about some events surrounding town meeting, some things that are going to be coming up at town meeting. So that's the topic today. But first, let me just go into a few local events. At the Bellows Falls Opera House this week, it's the second week of Madam Web. So if you missed it last week, you have a chance this week. It's Dakota Johnson. It's a Marvel Comics movie. I did watch the trailer. It looks mildly intriguing. I'm not a big Marvel fan, but it looks like it's actually a pretty cool movie because it's a neat plot line. The classic movie is The Gay Divorcee. That's a classic Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire movie. So they'll be singing, dancing, amazing ballroom costumes. That's sponsored by Friends of the Library. And if you go to the movie and you join Friends of the Library, then you can get a free triple up. So booyah bonus on that one. Just reminding everybody that tickets are on sale for Fiddler on the Roof. They are doing the set design. They've been rehearsing, and the actual play will happen the weekends of April 5th through the 7th and the 11th through the 13th. Tickets are on sale at the Bellows Falls Opera House for all of those performances. There's evening performances. There's matinee performances. We will have David on in about a month. As he gets closer to the performance, he'll be on to really talk to us more about it. I think he's coming on March 13th, so mark that on your calendars. This Saturday, the 24th at 8 p.m. at the Moose is the Queen of Hearts Drag Ball. For any locals who remember back in the day when Andrews Inn was open, every year they had a Queen of Hearts Drag Ball, and they're doing this one kind of in honor of that and in honor of, I believe, John Moises' birthday. So that's happening at the Moose. And then if you're looking for some live music and you want to travel a little bit, the Slambovian Circus of Dreams will be down in Brattleboro at the Stone Church. The Slambovian Circus came this summer as part of a Next Stage concert series that they actually held down behind Flatiron, down in the Riverwalk area. And I know there's a lot of locals that were at that. So just to let you know, Slambovians are back in the area. They're at the Stone Church. And if you haven't been to a concert at the Stone Church, this is a pretty cool venue. It's literally an old church. Has a lot of the old church things in it, but it's a concert venue. So check that out. So getting on to our topic today, Laurel, thank you for coming in.
Glad to be here.
Do you want to tell the public just a little bit about you and your history and how you kind of got involved in what you're doing on Saturday?
Yeah. Caught me off guard.
Oh, sorry.
Basic question.
Sorry.
Laurel Green. I've lived here for a good while. I've been a farmer in rural Rockingham, and now I live right in the village, and have been interested in the environment and climate coming out of being a gardener and farmer. And so that led me to take on a role when we did the Let's Take Action Rockingham meetings, to step up and take a role with Sustainable Rockingham. And so this is the event on Saturday is an introduction to town meeting, how people can participate, public education meeting on just how to be a citizen legislator and take action in our town. So there's a lot more to say about that.
Let's back up a little tiny bit to get some context. First of all, I do think it's important, I meant to say this in the beginning, but I do think it's important for everybody to know that the date of the town meeting and the date of voting for the town, the seats that are available has changed. The town meeting will be on April 1st,
That's no joke.
That's no joke. I know that's the tagline. I know. I was listening to the select board meeting before I came here, and Peter, every time you talk to Peter, that's his line. So no joke, on April 1st. And then voting for the articles and the people that are running for office is on April 2nd. But as I understand, the voting that was to take place on March 5th, that voting, because the school budgets and the River Valley Credit Union budgets all have to be voted on the same day. So there will be voting for those budgets as planned, but the voting for the town positions that are open will be on April 2nd, with the town meeting on April 1st.
And the presidential primaries.
And the presidential primaries on the
March
5th. Okay, so presidential primary. So there's an even bigger reason to go on that day. So you get 2 chances to go. Well, voting's fun. You always run into someone you haven't seen in forever. So just to backtrack a little bit, there's always been talk at any town meeting about how do we get more people at town meeting. So select board members, Bonnie North and Rick Cowan, decided to do a survey. And so they put it out to the public, and the survey results were actually interesting because, having been to town meetings, I always heard, anecdotally from people, well, transportation or childcare were the issues, and actually those played out low in the survey. The things that discouraged attendance were the fact that it's a Monday night, the fact that it's at 7 p.m., the fact that the school board meeting is combined with it, and then discussion and debate. And I think those are all, tangible things that can be changed. And I think there is some talk. I don't know, and maybe neither of you know this. Has there been plans, or will that be a discussion at town meeting about moving forward, it being moved to a different date?
Yeah. So at the select board meeting on Tuesday, the conversation was around setting it up as a special meeting just to consider those options. I'm sure that Bonnie and Rick are going to give a very brief presentation at town meeting. I'm sure they're making a handout so people can kind of get the results. The results are available online. But the detail of the results are very different than the bar graphs that are produced. For instance, you were talking about childcare and transportation, and the bar graphs make it look like it's a small percentage, maybe 10%, that's a problem. But when you add up the people that transportation or childcare hold them back from being able to participate in town meeting, that adds up to about 100 people.
Oh, really?
So when
I didn't look at the numbers, but
yeah, when we have a town meeting with 100 or 150 people, you add another 100 people. That's really significant. And so for this town meeting, there's a small working group that's taken on just getting the word out about town meeting, and the intro to town meeting event that's happening on Saturday is part of it. But another part is we are coordinating rides. So if people need rides to town meeting, to and from
that's good.
Town meeting, we'll make that happen this year. Because the town meeting is going to be in the evening and following the school board. We're assuming that people with young children are not going to bring their children this year. But in the future, if, after we have a special meeting, if we decide to, as a community, decide to change town meeting, say to the Saturday before, then childcare will become more important. So, and we could also add a potluck or a fundraising lunch, or we can expand it and make it a bigger event. But that's all to be considered in the future.
Okay, that's what I wasn't 100% clear on the follow through with that. I didn't get a chance to. I was trying to listen to the select board meeting before coming over here, but I was also typing an email, and I was telling Gary that doesn't really work because I heard something about special meeting, but wasn't sure what they were talking about. So can you give people an idea of what to expect if they come to the event on Saturday?
Yeah. So Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 24th, from 10:30 to noon. We're meeting on the second floor, in the second floor meeting space at the Rockingham Free Public Library. And we will basically give a very quick overview about how the town government works. We're going to just talk about, what are the villages in the town? A lot of people are confused about that. We're going to introduce, we've put out a special invitation to various officials in town, and we're going to have representatives from the select board, from both trustee boards. We're going to have the town moderator, the town manager, and the town clerk have all agreed to come. This is above and beyond what their duties are, but they want to meet people. They want to be part of what's happening in Rockingham, and you can too. Come meet them, rub shoulders with them. So we're going to also talk about the basic, what you have to do to be able to participate in town meeting. You have to be registered to vote, and there's 3 different ways you can do that. You need to get a copy of the town report, the annual report, and those are out now. Those are available, even though it may be confusing to you because they're warned for the earlier dates. But now we know that they're going to be the dates in March. And we're going to do a mock article. So the different things that the town can decide on are called articles. And it might be a budget, it might be, we're going to buy a new fire engine or whatever piece of equipment. So we're going to do a mock article on Saturday, and because it's not official, it's just a practice run. Anybody who shows up at this meeting gets to vote. And so if you are too young to vote, but you think this is a really good time to come practice, please, it's vacation week. What a great thing to do on your Saturday morning, 10:30, to come practice being a voter. So I haven't revealed it, but this is the time I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell you what the article is.
Ooh, you
so
heard
this
it
is
first. We're scooping everybody.
Non-binding mock practice article that we're going to introduce on Saturday. The question is, shall the voters of the town of Rockingham raise and appropriate the sum of $1,000 to Sustainable Rockingham for the development of neighborhood mutual aid networks? And this question was developed out of the hazard mitigation plan that was revised 2 years ago. This is a responsibility that Sustainable Rockingham has taken on to help develop mutual aid networks within our communities, and we just thought it would be a great time to hear voices in town. People can talk for this article or against it, or change the dollar amount, all the things you can do with a regular article in town meeting. So it'll be a little practice just for fun.
I think that's great, because then it's, we were talking a little bit before the show started, and I said I seem to recall, kind of vaguely learning Robert's rules and how you make a motion and all that stuff in school, but I don't remember it being put in any context. So when you have a context, yes, there's an article on the floor, and how does that work? And can people say, no, I think it should be $2,000? Well, you can make a motion, and how does that work when you make a motion on an amendment on a motion, and all of those things that happen in town meeting, and can get confusing. So if you do it in a learning setting, it's a great practice run, and that's a valid. You want to talk a little bit about about like what that means to have a community network, just so people understand?
Oh, well, there's documentation that in any kind of an emergency, and of course my mind goes to climate emergencies, but there's all kinds of things that can happen. If you're living in a neighborhood where people are going to check in on each other, somebody who needs something when the power's out, maybe they have to have oxygen, but you have a battery backup, maybe you can have them come to your house and they can have that oxygen pump. Lots of things. We had very hot nights last summer. We have heat pumps, run on solar energy, so people could come to our house and rest in the heat of the evening when it's too hot to be able to sleep. We've had the same thing when it's been too cold. People are like, come to my house if you're cold. We got backup systems. So there's lots of ways. Anytime that people need to come together and support each other by they can even be fun events ahead of time to bring the neighborhood together. Then when there's an emergency situation, we can really chip in and help each other. So
nice. Kind of. The more we go forward, the more we need to go back, because that's how neighborhoods used to be. I think when having grown up in the town, that was kind of the norm. If you thought your neighbor needed some help, you checked in on them, or you asked, or you just knew your neighbors more. And so, kudos to kind of like trying to bring that back, because I think we've gotten a little bit of, I think COVID was a big thing that, oh my God, don't go out of your house, don't go talk to anybody, and we got not used to it, and then I think there's a lot of turnover maybe in people moving and new people moving in and people moving out. So I think that's a good practice article, because it's pertinent and it's not a crazy amount of money and yeah. So if people want more information, like if they're not sure, if they have any questions, what's the best course for them?
The best thing is to bring your questions to the meeting on Saturday.
Well, okay, but if they have that barrier,
to
they're
be
not
able to
yeah.
get there. You can email me, Laurel, at Laurel1Planet I'm getting all messed up. Laurel1Planet@gmail.
Okay.
Is my address. You can contact me there. I want to say, some people have said, oh, this is just for people who are new to town. People who are new to Rockingham are certainly welcome, but it's for anyone who's felt like they don't quite understand how to take part in our community government, and everybody's welcome.
Awesome. So we're going to move on to Gary. One of the things that the town has been doing that is a huge project and a huge undertaking is the train station. So you want to give us some background, and is there actually a vote on anything for the train station, or?
There is. So there's
Okay.
an article for a bond for $150,000 towards stage 3 of the train station, which we'll get to.
Okay.
So I want to talk a little bit about the compelling reason why it's important to redevelop this. We have a historical train station. It's cool because it's historical train station, but there's really some compelling reasons for that. So just to put that in context, and then talk a little bit about the project itself.
Okay.
And get into some details, just how to find the details. So,
Okay.
First of all, at town meeting, we'll be handing out a economic report, and so the purpose for this is since I've been coming to town meeting, I always hear how challenging it is for homeowners to pay taxes. And we bought our house here in 1991, and so it's really important to understand the impacts. Like I would hear things, we have to cut services. There's too many services, and really looking at an economic report, the population when we moved here, I think in Bellows Falls was around 3,500, and at the last census it was 2,700. That's a huge drop. So you think of how much it costs for our services, even if costs don't go up every year. If you reduce by 700 people out of 3,500, each person pays a lot more.
Right.
So what do we do about that? So that's the first piece, and because the pandemic had such a big impact on everything, community life, economic activity. This report we did 2019 and 2022, so it's really drastic what the data shows about Rockingham pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So.
Now, is the idea, just to clarify for myself, is the idea of, so we always think cut services, but I think you're going on the flip, you're flipping the script and say economic development.
Yes.
Bring in more business, bring in more tax base. You can only cut so much. You have an infinite, you have a static amount that you can cut before you get dangerous, but you have ideally, you have an infinite amount that you could develop, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify that.
So cutting is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you cut, the less you have to support what's still there, and the more you have to cut. And it's a rabbit hole that's problematic.
But this is not a rabbit hole development.
And so the one thing that I would add to your description of the economic development is housing. So the number of residents, everything about the number of people that live here, so that the businesses that we have here make it and are supported by the people that live here as well as visitors. So one of the things that were the community economic development was what we call the area-wide plan. And so this, the post-industrial portion of
see it, but
Bellows
they
Falls.
can find it on.
Yeah, so if you go to www.rockinghamvt.org, the strip menu on the top has a tab called Municipal Projects, and you click that pull-down menu. Area-wide plan has details as well as this map, which shows where we have room for physical development, infrastructure development. And the reason that this is important, well, just back up a little bit. So as part of Connecticut River Transit, which is a public transit company that is part of the Mover today, running that organization, we were looking at the train station as a home before we built the facility at Exit 6. And one of the things in that research, all around the country, there's a lot of old train stations, and they tend to be in parts of towns or cities where post-industrial, dilapidated, nefarious activity that goes on there, and rundown neighborhoods, and that all of the successful redevelopment projects for these old train stations, they call them intermodal development project. The neighborhoods were fluffed up first. So there's the community economic development in the neighborhood, and so they're closely tied together,
Which makes
or
sense.
simultaneously. Just they both have to happen. So in the neighborhood of the train station, we have, if you go to the website and look at the details, you'll see mixed-use development. There's like 100 units of housing that's in there. There's some job creation. It's kind of like if you look at the square, where you have commercial activity on the street level and places there could be residences a couple of stories above, flip that on the other side of the canal. That's really what the area-wide plan is. And around places where there's train station, we have intercity rail and intercity bus with Amtrak and Greyhound. They call it transit-oriented development. And we looked at similar communities that have done that, and the economic. I just want to read these so I don't get the details wrong. But so in Brunswick, Maine, similar community, and the federal dollars brought private spending of up to 5 times that amount. The train station was redeveloped in 2008, and by 2011, the value of properties around that whole area increased tenfold. 97 new full-time jobs in the area. And by 2013, that was at the, so let's see, what's that? 5 years later, that's when the spending had been 5 times the federal investment was showed up in private investment. So at any rate, getting.
I'm just gonna. Unfortunately, so the bad news is we're down to like less than just about a minute. Believe it or not. The good news is Gary is coming next week too, because I knew this was going to be a big discussion. So
I'll jump ahead to the to the punchline.
Okay.
I don't know if, let's see, how do I get this in the view there? So this kind of shows the redevelopment. One of the concerns that community members brought up was what's it going to cost for the town to own the train station? And so this is why there will not be an operating cost to the town. So the train station will be in active use for Amtrak and Greyhound, but you see a nano brewery on the south end and a restaurant in the north end. And for about 25 years, this project has been under exploration. When they wanted Connecticut River Transit to move to the train station, There were feasibility studies, 2002, 2005, 2009. They all showed that restaurant and that type of activity, like a brew pub, would generate enough revenue for the building to be profitable and not have any expense to taxpayers. And they explored all kinds of other uses. It just didn't generate enough fun. So we're moving forward with, again, data-driven, what's been proven to work, what's been proven to show the community and economic benefits.
Perfect. So just super quickly, on Saturday at 10:30 to noon at the Rockingham Free Public Library, second floor, intro to town meeting. Anybody can come. Going to do a mock article, going to really see how it goes. Gary's going to come back next week and talk about more, but this is basically why you would want potentially to support that article for a $150,000 bond. And that is all that we have time for. So, bye, community.
Local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music.